Thank you, Madam Chairperson, and thanks to the panel for being here. It's a worthy discussion we have today with no simple answers. I was hoping one of you would give that answer. Mr. Blahaus, the most recent PBGC data shows that for 2016, less than 2% of participants are in multi-employer plans that are more than 70% funded. On the other hand, 75% of multi-employer plan participants are in plans that are less than 50% funded, and 95% are in plans that are less than 60% funded. Do these statistics raise the possibility that even plans not projected to run out of money in the next decade or two will be unable to pay promised benefits over the long run?
I would say absolutely yes, and I think this is very important to understand because we throw around this figure of a $54 billion projected deficit in the PBGC insurance fund, and that's based on the projection methodology that they use. But there's a lot more underfunding over the horizon beyond what is reflected in that $54 billion figure. So no one should be laboring under the illusion that if we sort of stitch up and patch together a few particularly prominent or immediate problems in specific plans.
Central states specifically. Yeah.
I don't like to talk about specific plans, but right. I mean, there are certain large plans out there right now that are focuses of immediate concern. But the story's not going to end there. Unless you fix the underlying structural problems in the multi-employer pension system, that other $600 billion worth of underfunding, that's going to come to roost. And so this is not just a matter of patching things up and moving on. There's a fundamental structural worsening problem that has to be addressed.
So if we fix Mr. Morgan's issue, which we want to, you're saying that that doesn't do it for many others as well, if we don't structurally do some significant changing.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you. Professor Naughton, according to the most recently available PBG data, multi-employer plans are underfunded by $638 billion. That's a large number even around here. Putting benefits for over 1 million plan participants at risk. This is, of course, unacceptable. As we all know, the first rule of holes is to stop digging. As such, is new underfunding being created in these plans each year? And if so, is this new underfunding limited to yellow zone and red zone plans?
No. So every year there is new underfunding, but it is not restricted just to those plans. So the way the system is set up, the contribution requirements don't reflect the full economic value of what is being promised. So every year when a new benefit is promised to a current participant, there's some amount of just structural underfunding that goes along with that. And that's obviously, creates a bigger problem because when you sort of project things forward, where if you look at the last several years, every year the level of underfunding has gone up in the system. So it's not like if you look back a couple years ago, it was 800 billion, now it's down to 600. It's been going up every year. And the reason it's been going up is because the participants that are collecting are getting closer to retirement. Benefits are being promised to people that are not being funded. And this is sort of the cycle that we're on. And that's going to continue unless there's a complete change in how they're funded. And then, the other related point is, imagine there's another recession next year, what that would do to the funded situation in those plans. And that's why it's also important to take a look at how they're investing their assets to at least limit the damage that would come from these other types of external events.
Okay. Additionally, Professor, when multi-employer pension plans fail, are union and employer trustees personally liable?
Currently, they are not personally liable. So the trustees are fiduciaries, and there are situations where those fiduciaries have been sued by participants for not fulfilling their duties, by making very risky investments, by not collecting sufficient funding, but those have not moved their way through the court system yet. And at least statutorily, there's no official rule that would hold them
that they're liable. Do businesses and unions who jointly sponsor these plans both have liability?
They have potential liability. So there's no statutory rule that says they're responsible for things. When you look at the businesses, what they've agreed to, being part of the plan, is to be joint and severally liable for all of the underfunding. And so we've heard other people testify about withdrawal liability, but what it really means is you're the last firm standing. And so to the extent that it gets to that point where a fund goes insolvent, the employer is obligated to contribute towards the plan. And to the extent that they don't have the resources to actually cover the insolvency, then they're simply forced into bankruptcy. The example that Mr. Morgan presented with Hostess Brands is a case where there was a company that was liable and owed close to $1 billion, but simply didn't have the resources to actually do that. There was no money left. The people had already taken the money out of the company. So that's sort of what it. So when you look at sort of the structure of what could happen, the employers that are part of these plans could be forced into bankruptcy.
Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you.